Continuing coverage of NAB 2026. Jeffrey Powers here. We're here with Peter. We're here at the Blackmagic booth, and we're going to be talking about Fairlight and this massive board. You technically don't need the massive board, but it's fun to have with you. And we're going to find out how Fairlight is going to change the game with audio with Blackmagic. We'll do that next on Geekazine. So, Peter, Fairlight. That was one of the big things that they announced here with hardware and software. So tell us, what is Fairlight?
So Fairlight is the audio kind of sub-brand under the Blackmagic umbrella. So anything audio inside Blackmagic is considered Fairlight. So we have the Fairlight page inside DaVinci Resolve. All of the audio in your ATEMs is considered Fairlight IP as well. And so now what we've done is break that out into a live workflow.
Okay.
So you have your DaVinci Resolve, which looks very similar to this. However, this actually is not that. So what we've done is taken the Fairlight page out of Resolve, made it a standalone application with extra CPU so that it can run live audio. So whereas anyone familiar with Fairlight previously in the past couple of years from Blackmagic knows that any hardware we've had just pairs with Resolve. It's for post-production. Can't use those panels live. People have been asking for a panel they can use live, and now here it is.
Okay.
So this can be paired with the ATEMs. It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
So this is a standalone application. The only caveat being because it does run on the computer, you do need a computer in that live workflow. So that's a relatively new way to do the live workflow, whereas you're not going to have any I/O boards on the console itself. It is still a controller.
Okay.
So that's the part that people might catch a little bit separately. But you just run your I/O that you already have. So the cool thing about that is it actually lets us work in other workflows that we necessarily didn't work in before.
Okay.
Most notably, we get asked a lot about Dante, which is a service that we don't use.
Yeah.
We do 2110 instead. There will be 2110 available for this. But since you are using the Mac for the OS, if you have a Dante virtual sound card, if you're at a house of worship or a live event space, whatever your situation is, and you already have that Ethernet audio, you can patch that to the Mac and this will still control it.
Okay.
So we can just set this console down into your already established system. You don't need to run new cables. You don't need a new setup for it.
You just need an Ethernet cable.
Just need an Ethernet cable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was thinking about because, companies like QSC, which just discontinued their touch mix, that was a big thing for a lot of hotels, just to have that board that they can put in the corner and plug in a couple XLR cables and be done with that. I'm thinking that this might be a good replacement, especially if they start really integrating video into things. So they'll have the Blackmagic ATEM switchers of some sort. And then, of course, the Fairlight. And then you have the cables nearby. You just put it on the desk, you just plug it in, and then you can control it from anywhere through the app.
Exactly, and you can actually pair an iPad to it as well, so you'll be able to control it remotely as well as on here, or even just using your mouse and keyboard. And you mentioned the video. You can pair this with the ATEM as well. So you can use the standalone, but on the floor out back, or out front, I suppose, we have a couple of examples of that where you have your HD8 or your TV8, the TV Studio ATEMs paired with either the 10 or the 20 channel console.
Yeah.
And you're getting your MADI audio paired over from the console just into this, controlling it from here.
Okay.
So it lets you spill over so you can do a TV production without needing to share that panel with your audio person. They now have their own piece of hardware.
So that's how I'm going to use Fairlight because I do a lot of live music. So we
cool.
have live music sound person that's mixing off of their board, whether it be an X32 or whatnot. And then we run it through AES into a converter, which is 2 XLR that come into here.
Right.
Now,
Perfect.
How does that work where this could actually do some of the separation, or can it?
Yeah, absolutely. So this could replace your other hardware board. Essentially, you could use this as your live sound mixer and pair it with your video at the same time.
So the AES would come into here?
So again, because the Mac itself is that hub, you would just need whatever you're getting once that signal is analog to AES to begin with, cool, now it's already in the Mac. So you just need some sort of digital AES breakout to get this to be able to see it.
So it goes from the soundboard to the Mac to the breakout to here.
Because this is just controlling what's going on in the Mac. So once we're in the Mac, there's no breakout back to here.
And the software is on the Mac.
Exactly.
Okay.
So once you have your digital signal, it can be AES, whatever it wants to be. Once it's digital, you just need to get a virtual sound card to break it back out into the Mac.
So this technically is, we'll just call it a dumb board.
Yeah, it's a controller.
It can't. There's no hardware in here that will actually run on its own.
There is, but very minimally. There's some XLR talkback mics. There's XLR outs for speakers, stuff like that. But your generic sound panel is not in here. No,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. It's in the back.
That's where the Mac is.
Yeah.
What's the lowest end Mac that we can run with this?
Hypothetically, you can run about 200 channels live with one of the new Mac Neos. Professionally, we're going to recommend at least a Mac Mini. Mac Studio, obviously, will blow the doors off.
An M1, M1, M2, M4.
I mean, it's processing power, so the higher the better.
Yeah.
But if it'll work off of a laptop, it'll work off an M1.
Yeah, I'm assuming if we're using like the 10 channel, over here, there's a 10 channel. We got the 20 channel here, and then I'll get out of the way for, that's what, a 40 channel right there?
Yes,
Yeah,
10,
yeah.
20, and 40.
Okay.
There are multiple banks on each one, so they can be layered as deeply as you want to go. 10 channels per section. On the 10 channel, obviously, there's only one screen. On all the others, you do have the multiple screens. So your first screen is going to be your processing screen. So I can go through here, do my EQ, my compressor, gate, expander, whatever you want it to be. Your last screen is going to be your master screen, which can be overruled to just be a fader selection as well. But we're assuming if you're using this much breakout, here's 30 channels of audio. Here's your master bank.
These are coming out soon, right?
So we are hoping to have them out by July, August timeframe.
Yeah.
But most of the products announced this year were, I believe it was announced, we're looking at July, August for most of it.
Okay. Actually, I remember the question I was going to ask. We talked about the Mac, but what about on the PC end? What are we talking for minimal
So
specs?
right now we are still in beta firmware, so I'm not 100% sure if PC version is ready yet. But I'd be surprised if by the time it's fully released, it isn't. Everything we do is Mac, PC, and Linux.
Okay.
So this would likely work on all three as well.
And Linux is also not out yet, or?
I've only seen it work with a Mac, but I've only seen it work here on the floor. So that's a question I just can't honestly answer. The dev guys are working on all that back home as we speak.
Let's talk about additions like effects or anything like that. How does that work?
So again, that's where your processing power really kind of comes into play because you are using the Mac for that.
Yeah.
But it works exactly the way it does in Resolve, which is nice. The way that we're doing plugins here, we are relying on the Mac for your processing power. Anyone familiar with DaVinci Resolve, familiar with the Fairlight page in DaVinci Resolve, will already know how to do this because it is the Fairlight page in DaVinci Resolve with a little bit more oomph for live. So quite literally, all I have to do is go into my channel strip and then just choose my plugin.
Okay.
And you have all the same plugins that you have in Resolve. So all your generic Blackmagic plugins, all your AUs, all your VSTs from your third-party manufacturers will work here as well as they do in Resolve.
Okay.
The higher processing power the plugin takes, obviously, you're going to start introducing latency factors there, but generic reverbs, delays, things like that you're going to want in your live workflow, you're going to get that with no problem.
Can we use this like a mixing console?
Absolutely. It is a mixing console, yeah. So
I mean as in replacing like a soundboard. You still need the sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the caveat being you have to have your Mac with it. Your I/O would be separate.
Okay.
But you can use your Blackmagic ATEM microconverters, or you can use any third-party Thunderbolt, USB, even Ethernet audio device. But the idea is, yes, this is going to replace your soundboard.
Okay. So how many? What do we have in the back? I know we can't turn these things. How does it look?
So in the back, you have 2 XLR for your talkback, whatever you might want that to be for. It's routable, so it can really be anything.
Okay.
2 XLR out, hypothetically, for your monitors on the booth, or if you're running a small vent space, that could even be your master monitors. We have Ethernets for connecting to the computer, to the ATEM, etc., depending on what you're connecting to. And a USB as well for updates and
a hook up to like a digital snake or anything like that?
Not automatically, no.
Okay, so we need still something in between to get the 32 channels somewhere.
Well, exactly, and that's where because it's, again, going off of the Mac, that's where your third-party interface would be. Okay. So your stage box would need to route into your Mac instead of routing into the console.
Okay.
The beta version is live on the website. You can, as you mentioned in the beginning, you can use this software without needing the hardware. So if any of your watchers want to check it out, they can go to our website and download this right now.
For the Mac.
And the hardware for the Mac, potentially for the PC already. I just haven't seen it yet. So I don't want to say with gusto.
Watch for the website.
Take a look at the website. But it is available now, and the hardware panels should be coming out around August time.
All right, perfect. Peter, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There you go, Fairlight. And then, of course, Blackmagic made more other announcements with new infrastructure highlighting the 21.
A lot of 2110 releases this year, which once full development is out, this will connect to as well. So everything is going to be interconnected in the entire Blackmagic workflow now, which is really nice.
So check it out over at geekazine.com, youtube.com/geekazine, where you can like, subscribe, bell notification, so you know when the next video comes out. I'd like to thank Peter and Blackmagic. We'll check out the little bit of the booth and some of this new stuff, but definitely keep an eye on Geekazine. We'll try and get this in the studio to take a look at it and a lot more. Until next time, you guys geek out and mix well with Fairlight.